There was a moment a few years ago that still stays with me. I was sitting in a crowded coffee shop, quietly judging someone I'd never met. Within seconds, I had already decided what kind of person he was. Then 10 minutes later, something happened that made me realize I had been completely wrong. That moment started a chain reaction that changed how I see people forever. For most of my life, I thought I was pretty good at reading people. Like everyone else, I walked through the world making quick decisions. Who seemed trustworthy? Who seemed rude? Who seemed confident? Who looked successful? It felt natural. Efficient, even. I never questioned it. Every morning, I'd take the same route to work. I'd see the same faces. The woman who never smiled. The man who always seemed angry. The coworker who barely spoke during meetings. Without realizing it, I created stories about all of them. I assumed the woman was unfriendly. I assumed the man was difficult. I assumed the quiet coworker lacked confidence. The strange thing is that none of these assumptions felt like assumptions. They felt like facts. And that's when I unknowingly became trapped inside one of psychology's most fascinating ideas, the fundamental attribution error. This theory suggests that we often explain other people's behavior based on their personality while explaining our own behavior based on circumstances. If I arrived late to work, it was because traffic was terrible. If someone else arrived late, maybe they were irresponsible. I never noticed how unfair that was until one afternoon. The woman I thought was unfriendly accidentally dropped her bag near me. As I helped her pick up her belongings, we started talking. Within minutes, she told me she had been caring for her mother who was battling a serious illness. She wasn't unfriendly. She was exhausted. Suddenly years of assumptions collapsed. And that realization led me to another theory. The next few months became a strange experiment. I started paying attention to how people reacted to expectations. At work, there was a new employee named Jordan. Most people believed he was exceptionally talented before he even started. Managers praised him. Coworkers expected great things. Something interesting happened. Jordan became one of the highest performers on the team. At first, I thought his success proved everyone right. Then I learned about the Pygmalion effect. This theory suggests that higher expectations often lead to improved performance. People treated Jordan like someone capable of success. As a result, he started acting like someone capable of success. The confidence others placed in him slowly became confidence he placed in himself. And that made me wonder. How many people are living up to expectations that were never truly theirs? Not long after that, I noticed another pattern. Whenever someone did something annoying, I couldn't stop thinking about it. A rude comment would stay in my mind all day. A criticism would replay repeatedly. Meanwhile, compliments disappeared almost instantly. One evening, I found myself remembering a single negative remark from weeks earlier while completely forgetting several positive conversations. That's when I discovered negativity bias. Psychologists have found that negative experiences often affect us more strongly than positive ones. Our brains treat threats as more important than rewards. From an evolutionary perspective, that probably helped humans survive. But in modern life, it can quietly distort reality. One criticism can outweigh 10 compliments. One awkward interaction can overshadow dozens of pleasant ones. I started wondering how many people I viewed negatively simply because my brain gave more weight to their worst moments. That thought became even more uncomfortable after I experienced something called confirmation bias. A coworker and I didn't get along very well. At least that's what I believed. Every time he interrupted someone, I noticed. Every time he seemed impatient, I noticed. Every behavior seemed to confirm my opinion. Then one day another colleague pointed something out. Have you ever noticed how often he helps people? Honestly, I hadn't. Not because it wasn't happening. Because I wasn't looking for it. Confirmation bias explains our tendency to notice evidence that supports existing beliefs while ignoring evidence that challenges them. The moment I started paying attention, I saw something completely different. He stayed late helping new employees. He volunteered for difficult tasks. He checked on coworkers who seemed stressed. The person hadn't changed. My perception had. And that realization felt unsettling. If my mind could filter reality that easily, what else was I missing? A few months later, I experienced another lesson while scrolling through social media. Someone posted a photo from a tropical beach. Another shared news of a promotion. Another announced a new relationship. Within minutes, I felt strangely dissatisfied with my own life. Nothing in my life had changed. Yet somehow everything felt worse. That's when social comparison theory made perfect sense. Humans naturally evaluate themselves by comparing themselves to others. The problem is that we're often comparing our everyday reality to someone else's highlight reel. The comparison isn't fair. But our minds rarely notice that. For years, I thought comparison was simply a habit. Now I realized it was deeply rooted in human psychology. The more I learned, the more I became curious about first impressions. One day, I attended a networking event. There was one person everyone seemed drawn toward. People laughed at his jokes. They praised his ideas. They spoke highly of him after only brief conversations. Later, I discovered something interesting. He was exceptionally attractive. That's when I encountered the halo effect. This theory suggests that one positive trait can influence how we perceive someone's entire character. When we find someone attractive, confident, intelligent, or charismatic, we often assume they possess many other positive qualities as well. Sometimes without evidence. The opposite can happen too. One negative characteristic can unfairly color everything else. Realizing this made me question countless first impressions I had made throughout my life. But perhaps the most surprising theory appeared during a family gathering. An argument started over a simple misunderstanding. Everyone remembered the same event differently. At first, I thought someone had to be lying. Then I learned about memory reconstruction. Human memory isn't a perfect recording. Every time we recall an event, our brains partially rebuild it. Over time, memories can shift. Details can disappear. New interpretations can emerge. Two honest people can remember the same event differently. Not because either person is dishonest. Because memory itself is imperfect. That realization changed the way I approached disagreements. Sometimes people aren't refusing to see the truth. Sometimes they're seeing a different version of it. Then came a theory that completely changed how I viewed confidence. For years, I assumed confident people were usually the most knowledgeable. Then I encountered the Dunning-Kruger effect. This theory suggests that people with limited knowledge sometimes overestimate their abilities, while highly knowledgeable people often underestimate theirs. Suddenly, certain experiences made sense. The loudest voices weren't always the wisest. The most certain opinions weren't always the most accurate. And some of the smartest people I knew frequently expressed doubt. That realization taught me something important. Confidence and competence are not the same thing. Around that same time, I started noticing how strongly people responded to labels. A teacher once described a student as gifted. Almost immediately, everyone treated him differently. His mistakes were forgiven. His successes were celebrated. His identity slowly became tied to that label. This reflected labeling theory. The labels we receive can influence how others treat us, and eventually how we see ourselves. Whether it's smart, difficult, lazy, or successful, labels often become invisible scripts. And people sometimes spend years living inside them. The final theory arrived when I least expected it. I was standing in line at a grocery store. A customer became impatient and snapped at the cashier. My immediate reaction was judgment. Then I stopped myself. I remembered everything I had learned. The fundamental attribution error. Confirmation bias. Negativity bias. The halo effect. Social comparison. Memory reconstruction. The Pygmalion effect. Labeling theory. The Dunning-Kruger effect. And one final idea, empathy. Not a formal theory this time. Just a realization. Every person I meet is carrying a story I cannot see. The angry customer. The silent coworker. The overconfident stranger. The distant friend. The person who seems rude. The person who seems successful. The person who seems happy. Most of the time, I know far less about them than I think I do. That realization didn't make me naive. It didn't mean every behavior should be excused. But it changed the way I interpret human behavior. Instead of asking, "What's wrong with that person?" I started asking, "What might I not know?" And that simple question changed everything. Today, when I catch myself making quick judgments, I remember that coffee shop years ago. The woman I thought was unfriendly. The story I invented. The reality I never saw. Psychology taught me something unexpected. The biggest blind spots are often the ones inside our own minds. And maybe that's the hidden truth behind human behavior. People are rarely exactly who they appear to be. We're all making decisions, carrying experiences, fighting invisible battles, and living inside stories that others can't fully see. Maybe understanding people isn't about becoming better at judging them. Maybe it's about becoming more aware of how often we're wrong. And if that's true, then here's a question worth thinking about. How many people in your life would look completely different if you knew the full story behind their behavior?